Good morning, and it is November already and time for us to be resolving our diminished seventh chords. If you don't know who I am Karen Rowell from the Karen Rowell Music Studio in London, Ontario, and I love to teach theory. I had several people that needed to learn how to do the diminished seventh resolution, and I thought I would make a video so that everybody could have something to look at home, and then I figured that I might as well just share it. So at this point, if you just stop the video and look below, there's going to be attached a file that you can print off. It's a PDF. It's 2 sheets long. One sheet is a bit of explanation in good old-fashioned English, and then the other one is an exercise sheet that I'm going to work through part of it with you and then leave it to you to figure out the rest of it and have it ready for a lesson with your favorite theory teacher. So I trust that you're back now with everything printed out, and what we're going to do is I have the exact same thing printed out that you do, and I'm going to work this through with you. I find that if I don't start putting the pencil to the paper at the same time as you, I go too fast for everybody. Even if you can stop the video at any given time, it's still a little bit too quick for everybody. So this way you can also see if I make a mistake. There's the handy dandy eraser on the end of our pencil. Nobody's expected to be perfect. So let's talk about the diminished seventh chord. It is extremely special. It is an equidistant chord where it is a minor third between each note, regardless of what inversion you're in. Now on paper, it doesn't look like that. On paper, when we draw these first inversions, it looks like there's a second, but it is an enharmonic minor third. It does turn out to the ear to be an equidistant chord. That means that if you're a pianist, you only have 3 different chords that you have to learn for the diminished sevenths for your technique. It's just a matter of labeling them a different note. For instance, this is the diminished seventh of A minor, G sharp, B, D, F. I just went to first inversion and it was B, D, F, G sharp, and that looks like there's a second on top, which is true. But this is also B, D, F, A flat, which is the root position of C minor. So each one of these inversions actually can be having one letter changed in a way through enharmonics and result in being in a different key. So there's 4 different keys per chord. So the other thing that is really cool about our diminished seventh chord is that there are no perfect intervals. It is diminished fifths. We have a tritone between the bass and the fifth and another tritone between the third and the seventh. So that means we can't get parallels with this, but it does mean also that we have to make sure we resolve everything appropriately. Now, before going on, let's talk accidentals. Every diminished seventh chord has an accidental. In a minor key, we must raise our leading tone, and we're all pretty much used to that and mostly remembering it. When you're in a major key, we must lower our seventh. So let's look at this piece of paper that I've sent. We're just going to draw a couple of chords. Now, I've noticed that the directions say that the first 2 lines are in chorale style and the second 2 lines are in keyboard style. So I just gave myself a little note to self so that I didn't end up writing this in the wrong style. Now, our first key is C minor, so let's put in our 3 flats. And then what we're going to do today is I'm going to actually read out how I'm placing these on the staff, because it's a little easier if we're all on the same notes at the same time when we're in a video like this. So our 7 diminished 7 for C minor will start on B natural. So I'm putting a B natural in the bass on line 2. I put the natural sign on now. I don't wait till the end of the chord, to the end of the line, till the end of the whole page. That results in too many errors. Do it as you go. So let's put the A flat in the tenor on line 5, the F in the alto on space 1, and the D on line 4 in the soprano. Now, B natural, D, F, A flat. Let's not resolve it quite yet. Let's go to the next one, which says C major. We don't have to put in a key signature there. So it's still the same letters we had a moment ago. B on line 2, A on line 5, F on space 1 treble clef, D on line 4 treble clef. But now our B is already natural from the key signature. What we have to do is say we lower the 7th. So in BDF A, the A must go down to A flat. And that results in this one looking like this. When you play these two, they match exactly. It's just that the accidental is different according to whether we're in a major or a minor key. So now that we can actually draw these, how do we resolve them? No surprise, leading tones rise to the tonic. Sevenths fall a second. And in this case, we resolve the tritone that involves the bass in contrary motion by step. As a matter of fact, the resolution of all notes in a 7 diminished 7 chord, regardless of the inversion, the resolution should be by step. So if we look at our first one, which we already have the first chord in, our 1 chord would have the C in the bass on space 2. Now, BDF A, the 7th falls a second, so the A flat goes down to G. The tritone involving the bass is B up to F. So if B rises a second to C, the F falls a second to E flat. And now we have a C to double, and we end up with it looking like this. And the sound is if we put our root quality symbols on, we would be B diminished 7 and CM, like that. When we go to C major, we can copy where we placed our notes for the 7 diminished 7 in C minor, because everything is still going to be in the same place. Our leading tone is still B. Our 7th is still A flat. They have an up and down motion. Our tritone involving the bass is still B to F. We have to go by contrary motion, and we double the C. So really, the first chord stays exactly the same, and the second chord, the only difference is we don't have an E flat here. No key signature, so that means I've got just a C over top. Now let's go on to our D minor example. So let's put 1 flat in our key signature. And now the diminished 7th of D minor is C, E, G, B. We would need to raise our leading tone, which makes it a C sharp. And since this is a 7 diminished 6-5, we need to put the E in our bass. I'm going to choose space 3 of the bass clef. I'm going to put a B flat in the tenor sitting above the staff, and I'm going to put a G on my alto line 2, and my C sharp is going to pop up on space 3 in the soprano. And again, I immediately put the C sharp on. I do not wait. And I know that that's going to be a C sharp diminished 7 over E for its root quality symbol. When we resolve to 1 in first inversion, it's going to DFA with F in the bass. Our C sharp, the leading tone, rises to the tonic, the D. The 7th falls a second, so B flat down to A. And when you look at that, that means that we actually already have the tritone involving the bass resolved in contrary motion just by the leading tone and the 7th resolving. Now, when we put in our other note for our 1 in first inversion, I'm going to say, try doubling the 3rd. And I know for years we've said never double the 3rd, but often the chord of resolution after 7 diminished 7 has a doubled 3rd. And sometimes it's even if it's a 1 in root position, which is normally not going to be said. But in this case, there are times it happens. And when we have the 7 diminished 6-5 inversion, like it's in first inversion, the chord resulting typically has the 3rd doubled. Just make sure you're never going to end up doubling a leading tone when you do that. And then this would be DM over F. So he looks like this. And its sound is, and if we go to the next chord and do D major, you're going to put your two sharps in your key signature and then say, oh, it's the same numbers as the previous bar, which was D minor. I can put all of my letters in the same place. E up to B, up to G, up to C. But before I go on, the C sharp is in the key signature. I don't have to add that. But I have to lower the seventh. C, E, G, B. B needs to go down to B flat. Now I've got my first chord in place nicely. Now the one in first inversion has an F in the bass. Our leading tone C sharp rises to the tonic. We can actually put everything in the same place it was back in D minor. And our C sharp diminished 7 over E label is the same, but now it's D over F sharp for our root quality symbols. And our sound is now, so in minor, in major. Now I'm going to leave line 2 to you to do, and we're going to jump down to line 3 where I've given myself the little heads up. We are in keyboard style now. Back into C minor, let's put in our 3 flats again. And now it says 7 diminished 6/5 of 3. So we have 3 chords in this bar, the 7 diminished 6/5 of 3, the 3 in first inversion, and the 1. Now the key of 3 from C minor is E flat major. It's the relative major when we do 3. And that means that our 7 diminished 7 would be D, F, A, C. And because we're in a major key, we need to lower our 7th. D, F, A, C, 7th is C, it goes to C flat. And we don't have other accidentals this time because the key signatures match. Now, if it's a 6/5, I'm going to put an F below the staff, an A on line 5, a D below the treble clef staff, and a C on space 3, and then I immediately put my flat on. And then I say, even though I said keyboard, I didn't do it, so I'm going to erase the A flat from the bass clef and put it right here. Excuse me. So as long as the right hand span is an octave or less, that's fine. You can have more than an octave, even 2 octaves or more than that, between the 2 hands. Now when we go to the key chord 3, that is E, G, B, it's a capital 3. There is no raised leading tone. Leave them alone. So we have a G in the bass of E, G, B. Our 7th must fall a second. D, F, A, C, the C flat goes down a second. The leading tone, the D, rises to the tonic. And then because this is a diminished 7th 6/5, we're going to double the G so that the diminished 7th D to A flat that is sitting right there in the center, this diminished 7th goes by contrary motion by step. And then we go on to the 1 chord, which is the C minor chord. And we say, oh, my E flat will be a common tone. My G is a common tone, and then my C goes up top, but I have to put a natural sign on that. Otherwise, the flat from back here is going to continue over here, and we wouldn't want that. So in here, that means our sound is, and for our root quality symbols, we would have D diminished 7 over F, E flat over G, and C, M. Let's do one more in keyboard style, and then I'm going to leave the rest of this page to you. So for G minor, we're putting 2 flats in, and it says 7 diminished 7 of 6. Well, the key of 6 from G minor is E flat major. So it's the same key we just had as of 3 in C minor, but we might end up with different accidentals. So we still have D, F, A, C flat, but the difference in key signature between G minor and E flat major is 1 flat, so we now also have A flat. And this time we are in root position, so let's put a D on line 3 of the bass clef. And I'm going to go A flat on space 2 and C flat on space 3 and F on line 5. So that it looks like this. I'm just trying to arrange my diminished seventh in different ways than just always putting it in alphabetical order. It is not wrong to put it in alphabetical order. So now when we resolve to 6, that means the bass will be E flat. Our seventh is D, F, A flat, C flat. It's going to go down to the B flat. Our leading tone is already rising to the tonic. The tritone involving the bass is D up to A flat. So it resolves down to the G because the D was going up a step. The A flat had to come down a step. Contrary motion. And then in this particular case, we know that the 6th chord, we can choose to double either the root or the 3rd when we are doing normal resolutions. So let's double the 3rd, the G here, because it makes it sound really nice. And it is something we will hear in pieces by people like Schumann and Schubert in the Romantic period. So that means that we would have D diminished 7 and E flat for our chords. And this is what my sheet looks like at this point. So you can freeze the video here and make sure that yours matches mine, and in particular, that all your accidentals are there. So have fun finishing this sheet, and we'll talk again soon.